There are over 99 different ways a goblin speaks, but only one noise as generic as this one.
Hey gang! Using the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, will get you 10% off any order over $10 at Flipside Gaming. It'll also get you 10% off any orders of singles at Multizone. And it'll get you 10% off most products at Original Magic Art, with the exceptions of some paintings. If these fine sites don't have what you're looking for, you can also consider using my affiliate link when ordering from TCG Player. And if you'd like to join the generic Goblin Gang to support this channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below. Hey gang, looking to get your hands on a free box of Theros Beyond Death? Well, look no further. Flipside Gaming will be giving one away between December 12th and January 27th. You can enter by using my promo code MTGMudsta on an order of $10 or more, or by sending a self-addressed, stamped envelope or postcard to them. It's one entry per person, and for more information, follow the link below. Happy holidays to all my friends who are celebrating, and if you're not, I hope you just have a great day. Today's game features some friends from Jersey, with Matt playing his newly made Korvold deck. He keeps a Birds of Paradise, a Deathrite Shaman, an Exotic Orchard, a Mountain, a Phyrexian Tower, City of Brass, and a Swamp. Trevor is playing his Kruphix deck, keeping a Manamo, a Lumbering Falls, Skyshroud Claim, Castle Vantress, Halimar Depths, Snapcaster Mage, and a Forest. Mike is playing his Olivia Reanimator deck, keeping a Spine Rock Knoll, Blood Crypt, Mountain, 2 Swamps, Buried Alive, and Soul Ring. Ryan is taking his Bruna deck out, keeping a Holy Mantle, Narset Parter of Veils, Zalfin Void, an Island, Temple of Enlightenment, Port Town, and a Plains. Trevor wins the die roll and starts us off. Trevor plays a tapped Halimar Depths and rearranges his top 3. Mike plays a tapped Spine Rock Knoll and hides away a card and passes. Ryan plays his Temple, scrying 1 and bottoming the card. Matt plays a City of Brass, losing 1 life to cast Birds of Paradise. Trevor plays a tapped Lumbering Falls and passes. Mike plays a Blood Crypt, taking 2, and then pays 1 for Soul Ring. He then taps out for Buried Alive, and bins some creatures while passing a Ryan. Ryan plays a Zalfin Void, bottoming the card that he scries. And passing. We see a Lord of the Void from Mike, followed by a Void Winnower and a Tyrant's Familiar. Matt plays a Mountain, and taps his Birds for Deathrite Shaman, which should hopefully help with Mike's graveyard. Trevor plays a tapped Castle Vantress, passing. Mike plays a Mountain for turn, and brings in Olivia, mobilized for war. He then taps his Soul Ring for an Altar of Dementia, and passes. Ryan plays a Port Town, revealing an island, and he then goes shields up with a Ghostly Prison. Matt plays a Swamp for turn, and passes. Trevor plays his Manamo, and taps out for a Skyshroud Claim. He's not using the mana he finds, and he passes turn. At the end of turn, Matt activates the Deathrite by tapping his Birds of Paradise, and he exiles the Void Winner and gains 2 life. Mike plays a Swamp, and sorts out his mana because he's not a savage. He gets revenge for his fallen Void Winnower by hitting Matt in the air for 3 commander damage, and we then see a Rakdos, Lord of Riots in his post-combat main phase before passing a Ryan. Ryan plays an Island, and pays for Narset, Parter of the Veils, which Trevor doesn't care for. Ryan then downticks Narset, and reveals Winds of Wrath, putting it to hand. Matt plays an Exotic Orchard for his land drop, and we see a Dockside Extortionist. This gives Matt 3 treasure tokens, and he passes to Trevor. Trevor plays a Forest, and uses a Snapcaster Mage, flashing back his Skyshroud Claim. He casts it once Matt says he won't exile it, and goes to find 2 more Forest cards. He then passes turn. Mike draws, and goes to combat. He swings 9 in the air at Trevor, who before moving to damage, tries to exile Rakdos with Reality Shift. Mike responds by milling Trevor for 6, sacrificing Rakdos to the altar, and he still gets in for 3 with Olivia. Mike then plays a Swamp, and passes. Ryan plays a Plains for turn, and downticks Narset again, looking at his top 4. He reveals Kasmina, bottoming the rest, and Ryan then casts her, downticking her as well to make a 2/2 Wizard token. He then draws a card, and discards a card. Ryan sadly doesn't have the Wizard token, but he does have a card from an anime-based card game, which is signed by the voice actress, which is kinda cool. He then passes. Matt brings in Korvold in his main phase, losing 1 life from the city and sacrificing the dockside extortionist as Korvold enters. Korvold gets a counter, but sadly can't draw an extra card. Matt then plays a Bloodstained Mire and passes. Trevor draws for turn, and Matt sacrifices his Bloodstained Mire, giving Korvold another counter and drawing a card, and then going to find a land. Meanwhile, Trevor casts an Ulanwald Hydra and goes to find a land of his own. He plays an Eldrazi Temple from his hand first, and then goes and grabs a Yavimaya Hollow, which comes in tapped. Mike taps 5 in his main phase for Living Death. Matt responds to this by sacrificing a treasure token for green, and exiles the Lord of the Void with Deathrite, gaining 2 more life. Mike also responds, sacrificing Olivia to his altar, and milling Ryan for 3. Matt then sacrifices his permanents, which trigger Korvold, but he only draws 1 card, which actually should have been from the earlier treasure token because of Narset. The table then gets a few triggers, with Trevor going to find a 2 or less costing instant or sorcery because of the Spellseeker, and Matt gains 3 treasure tokens from his Dockside Extortionist. Ryan also finds an aura from his Totem Guide Heartbeast. Ryan finds and reveals Angelic Destiny, putting it to hand, while Trevor has to decide whether to help the board or himself. He decides to help himself, and grabs Epiphany at the Drown Yard, which doesn't draw cards, so it gets around Narset. Mike then has some Olivia triggers, which he largely ignores, and swings the Tyrant's Familiar at Trevor. He deals 7 damage to the Spellseeker, and Trevor takes 7 as well. In Mike's second main phase, he activates the Spine Rock Knoll for 1 red, and gets to cast a Shadowborn Demon. The demon then enters and destroys the Heartbeast, and Mike then passes. Ryan plays a tap new Benalia, scrying 1 and keeping it there. He then casts the earlier revealed Winds of Wrath to wipe away the board. Mike responds, sacrificing Rakdos to mill Ryan for 6, Olivia to mill 3 from Trevor, and the remaining 12 from Matt with his 2 other creatures. In Ryan's second main phase, he downtexts Kasmina again, making a wizard token, and then drawing and discarding, and passing. Matt plays a mountain, and plays out a Caustic Caterpillar in his main phase, and then casts an Arbor Elf. Matt then loses a life to sacrifice the Caterpillar, and he blows up Ryan's Ghostly Prison to clear the way for the table. At the end of turn, Trevor activates his Castle Vantress, scrying 2 cards, and he decides to put 1 on top and 1 on the bottom. Trevor casts one of my favorites, the Mirage Mirror, in his main phase, and then a Nurok Stealth Suit before passing to Mike. Mike plays a Sulphurous Springs, and hardcasts an Utvara Hellkite, which costs him all of his mana. Ryan plays a tapped Remote Isle, and enchants his Anime Wizard with Angelic Destiny. He keeps it back as a blocker for the Hellkite, and passes. Matt casts Goblin Bombardment in his main phase, and he floats 1 green, and then untaps the land with an Arbor Elf. Matt then sacrifices it to Goblin Bombardment to take out Narset. He then casts Mox Diamond, and discards Phyrexian Tower as it comes in. Matt then passes, and at the end of turn, Trevor casts Epiphany where X is 7. He makes 2 piles, and Mike gives him the pile with Plasm Capture and Kozilek. Trevor plays a Hinterland Harbor, and then brings out Kozilek, drawing 4 cards from its on-cast trigger. With nothing else, he passes. Mike plays a Swamp, and forecasts his next cast, asking how many creature cards are in their respective owners' yards. He then recasts Olivia, paying the commander tax, and pays 2 black for an Avatar of Woe. He discards a card to Olivia's trigger, pitching Nahiri's Wrath to give the Avatar a +1/+1 counter in haste. Mike then taps the Avatar, forcing Trevor to either let Kozilek go, or dump some mana into saving it. Trevor lets it go to the yard, and Mike swings his Hellkite at Matt for 6, gaining a 6/6 dragon as it attacks. Ryan casts a Sage's Reverie onto what he's calling Bismarck, which is in reference to the card, and drawing 2 cards as it enters. He then plays a tapped Halimar Depths, looking at his top 3. He then passes. Matt draws for turn, while Ryan elaborates on his awful deck idea, Mardu Subgames. You're a monster, Ryan. Matt then recasts Korvold, and loses his Exotic Orchard to the sacrifice, drawing a card and giving his commander a +1/+1 counter. Matt passes, and at the end of turn, Trevor has his Mirage Mirror become a copy of the Avatar of Woe, and he taps it to take out Mike's Udvara Hellkite. In response, Mike has Trevor mill 6 cards by sacrificing the dragon to the altar. Trevor draws for turn, and taps 10 mana in his main phase to cast Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. He exiles Angelic Destiny and the Goblin Bombardment, and Trevor then passes. Mike casts Karavek in his main phase, and then passes turn. At the end of turn, Ryan cycles his Desert of the Mindful. Ryan pays 6 in his main phase for an overloaded Winds of Abandon. This triggers Karavek. Matt sacrifices 2 treasure tokens to give Korvold 2+1/+1 counters and draw 2 cards. He then uses that green mana for Reap and targets Mike. This lets him return 3 cards to hand, finding and putting back Finale of Devastation, Eldritch Evolution, and the Dockside Extortionist. At this point, Trevor catches his mistake from earlier of not shuffling in Kozilek and sets aside the stuff he milled after that point so as to be as accurate as possible. He shuffles in his graveyard at this point, and Mike then decides to mill Trevor for 12 once he's shuffling, and Matt for 6 by sacrificing his creatures. Mike then lets the Karavek trigger resolve, dealing 2 to Ryan, and he lets Olivia get exiled to the command zone. Trevor then mills his 12, and Matt, Trevor, and Mike get to go and find 1 basic apiece. Ryan then hits Matt for 3, and in his post-combat main phase, he casts an Azorius Signet and passes. Matt recasts his Dockside Extortionist in his main phase, gaining 6 treasure tokens as it enters. He then taps a lot of mana, losing 1 life from the City of Brass, and sacrifices a treasure to cast Finale of Devastation, where X is 4. Responding to this, Trevor casts Plasm Capture and targets it. Matt then loses another treasure and counters the counter with a guttural response. Matt then goes through his library and finds a Temur Sabertooth, putting it to the field. He's able to use the Sabertooth and the Dockside to generate more mana than it costs to bounce it back and recast it, therefore generating infinite mana. He then casts Korvold, sacrificing one of the now thousands of spare treasures he has to draw a card. He then slowly starts sacrificing treasure after treasure to make Korvold larger and larger still, while also drawing a card for each treasure he sacrifices. He does this for several cards before we see Yawgmoth's Will, followed by a Vexing Shusher. Matt then casts Food Chain from his yard, Matt then casts Squee the Immortal, and now has the traditional Food Chain combo now active. He then keeps drawing because he's afraid of Mike having some trick, and goes until he finds a Rift Sweeper, bringing back the Goblin Bombardment from exile and shuffling it into his library. He then continues to draw cards by sacrificing treasures until he finds a Mayhem Devil, which he casts, and he then proceeds to ping the table to death with his many now explosive treasure tokens. Game review time. So, because it's Christmas, I get to do whatever I want, so I'm not really going to say much, except that I think that Prosh might have some reason to worry because of how sweet Korvold is. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and look forward to a video tomorrow and Saturday. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/mtgmudsta, and lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/mtgmudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.